frame of your screen, you'll notice the amount of CHP vehicles in pursuit, and then that sort of that back end forming a line, essentially, and leading back even more so to then another barrier holding back traffic. So you see that it's, despite that it's just
people.
one very slow, seemingly easy and simple pursuit, it is affecting on a multitude of levels.
We have ourselves a Saturday night chase at 10 miles an hour on the 605 southbound.
Looks like you're well on your way to getting to the 405 southbound.
Yeah, that's where this is now going to lead here.
Let me get these tweets out.
Yeah, it's interesting to see just how many CHP patrol cars there are.
Take me a second to get live with you
They have
guys.
completely blocked off the southbound lane.
Silver Dodge Charger.
It looks like at this point, some of those CHP cars, take a look to the left, riding right next to, oh, no, now we're to the actual vehicle there.
High-speed chase here.
It's hard to
on a
see because
Saturday
there's so
night.
many different formations of
Right.
CHP.
We're on the 605 southbound doing high rates of
But it
speed
looks
on the
like these cars
605.
here are leading, and they're just on the tail as that car continues to move with a possible kidnapping suspect inside.
And perhaps that is one of the...
God, it takes me forever to get these damn notifications up. I
perhaps,
apologize,
another
people. It's
spike
just,
strip or maybe
I
a
gotta
big
click
move
so
and
many
maybe just
freaking
waiting it
buttons.
out to see for that car too.
I got
So
NBA
think
games on
about
all my
being
damn
able to
devices. It
give
slows
this,
everything down.
Give this pursuit an end, but right now, that all we can do is wait, given the fact that that car, and you obviously...
This
know,
is
safe,
what we're dealing
so,
with
you
at the
know,
moment.
if there is a kidnapping in progress right now. You have to take...
It is a kidnapping. So that's the want here. Is it's a kidnapping suspect doing. They've got the entire 605 shut down behind pretty much, as traffic is being slowed to the pace of this chase. It is a Dodge Charger. It's a silver Dodge Charger.
Being aggressive in trying to get this pursuit to come to a stop, to get that suspect.
405 interchange coming up there with the 22 and the
Definitely not
405
something that they
northbound
would
as well,
give
as you
up
can
on,
see.
Especially given that we know spike strips were already deployed. The vehicle is continuing to drive without at least what we believe is that front driver's side tire. It looks like that is completely gone at this point. But it's always so just mind-blowing that these vehicles can continue to move with one less tire.
What happened? Did De'Aaron Fox's
honestly,
ball get tipped? What happened there?
There's no other thought in terms of what more can be done at the
Yeah.
moment, and especially considering there's that second line right there of CHP.
This is going to be a while. I feel like people, even though there's not
in front, and then
even though there's not
behind, on top of it,
wheels on the car.
just
Usually that means we're
dealing with
nearing the
traffic on a
end.
Saturday night, and then you're wondering what the next step is going to be as this car, anytime it makes a movement, you wonder if it's finally going to pull off to the side, or if it's going to take
Moving
an
at the
exit, or
speed
if it's
of Garrett
finally- or
Cole
if the driver's
covering first base, says
finally
the
going to
chat.
realize that there's
The
really
accuracy,
nothing else that
Kyle
you
Anderson
should
asked
do in
Chase.
this
The
situation,
accuracy.
given the fact that they are, for lack of a better word, cornered. There is no other direction really to go. There's no escaping this scenario. We've often caught ourselves in multiple
Sorry,
pursuits.
I'm changing
where-
the channel like every 2 seconds
just
here.
a tad. And-
Chases
and where
on,
you
college
see vehicles
football,
try and,
NBA games
maneuver
all over the place.
endlessly, 25 to 40 miles per hour through a particular
As we watch
neighborhood
this
that
chase,
a
that
person is familiar
Take
with,
a look.
but
It looks like, am I correct to say no? It looked like that driver's
moment.
side door opened, but I think we're just noticing
Just
it
creeping
as it
along.
turned, maybe the
No Desmond
vehicle.
Shaw in the air. It's a
But you can
Saturday.
see
Most
how
of these
long
helicopter pilots,
it
or the
is,
A
right?
team,
It's
usually
maneuvering
have
right now,
the days
especially
off.
towards the front.
and outside of any other, it doesn't look, at least from our perspective, and granted it is dark, so it's hard to see. Yeah, it does again look.
Sure,
like
the
it's
car
just
sure is
not
moving. That
clear,
Dodge
but
Charger sure is
damage you
moving.
can quite make
Like
out,
it
just the way as it looks
is
like it's
lacking a
coming
tire in the
underneath
front.
An overpass here briefly.
It is a
So
kidnapping
there could be a
suspect.
vehicle
Not
coming out the other end.
don't have any other
To wrap
details
up your
besides that
point
at
is
the moment.
That in other cases you see, especially when we have pursuits on the freeway where you're going at exceedingly high speeds, and the concern there is ramming into somebody else or crashing, it just causing a mess of a scene and a danger to so many other people. Whereas in this particular case, the dynamics have changed to the point where here, this is the wide scope of it all. And
CHP has completely shut
Right.
down what looks to be a good portion of that 605 South, 405 South interchange there. It looks like they pushed traffic back quite a bit.
Have we come to a
now
complete
as-
stop?
As the vehicle continues
Nope.
to chug along here.
Chug is
But
a
the good thing
stretch.
here Gio, is that this is happening on our freeways, which means it's all CHP jurisdiction, which means that sergeant that's leading this pursuit is able to talk to, you know, the sergeant that may be manning the 405 and let them know, hey, that's where we're headed.
Right.
Start to clear the roadways for us.
And that becomes a lot easier.
You can prepare
when
ahead
going at
usually,
the
yeah.
speed, which is
Yes.
obviously
Decent point of view there.
slow. It
The
actually
speeds are
makes
helping.
tactical maneuvering and management a lot easier, considering that you're not dealing with someone who is going 50, 60, 70 plus miles per hour. You even see some of those CHP cars rolling off there on an exit, perhaps maybe coming out the other side. But we'll see, obviously, right now, because we kind of lost track of the vehicle going under
Yeah.
those overpasses just visually, but we know they're in that area right now, and that CHP essentially has a handle on this. They know exactly where the vehicle is. Again, this is a pursuit, if you're just joining us, that started on the 5605 interchange going south on the 605, and right now it looks like we're going toward the 405 exit.
Yeah.
And the vehicle that you were looking at going maybe somewhere between 5 to 10 miles per hour, incredibly slowly, was spike stripped at some point, losing perhaps that front left.
You guys
tire
are,
that we were
you're not
pointing
kidding.
at, and that suspect
You're usually
was
lying in the
kidnapping.
chat, but this Joel
And don't
Embiid
know
thing
if
seems to
that person has a weapon or
actually
not.
be
So
real.
These are fluid details, a fluid situation.
You guys got to
that,
give me a second.
we
I'm
are
going to
trying
need
figure
to
out
discuss what's going on.
That is moving
Figure out
rather
what's going on here.
slowly, but we're gonna try to maneuver our helicopter here. Just a word to our viewers, it is cloudy out there. There are some low clouds, so we're told that our chopper, SkyCal, has to hang back just a bit for obviously our crew's safety. But as we try to get past this overpass there, we're waiting to see if we can see that vehicle that police CHP is pursuing right now. It looks to be like a white convertible and can't make it out just yet there, Gio.
No, it looks like, yeah, right now it's just those CHP vehicles, and it's
We're gonna
right
go
there.
through, yeah, it's right
Going
there.
through
We're
a
gonna go
tunnel,
through
still
the
605
tunnel here, so
southbound.
It's gonna be maybe quite a moment before we're able to see it come out the other end because this thing is moving
Yeah, it's
5
from
miles per
Keith.
hour at this point.
And one of the other
He's claiming that
questions
Joel
here, this is
Embiid just
where,
assaulted
that
a
vehicle
reporter
about to
in the
come
locker
out to.
room.
We pointed
That's
out
the only-
so far
only
in the
news
last
I see
15
about it,
minutes
though.
how much traffic has been affected. That's been behind on the 605 right now, and as we transition here to the 405, and you were just
No, this is a Philly
looking
beat
at the screen as the
reporter
vehicle
who's
pops
in the
up right
locker room.
there.
The car
And,
just popped out the
in
other
center of your
side.
screen,
It looks like
there's even
interchanging
more
to the
traffic
405.
consider. And of course, traffic is always top of our minds here in Southern California on any day of the week, particularly on a weekend night if you're trying to get somewhere. But here, would be my next question as to, okay, now you have this wave of traffic coming in on the left side of your screen,
Yeah.
how that's going to affect. We'll see if CHP tries
Looks
to
like-
wall this suspect
Yeah.
off here to the side, but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
And they really do have to be careful because again, we don't know the details of who may be in that vehicle. There may be someone inside, which is why we haven't seen a pit maneuver just yet. Slow speeds.
can't pit maneuver at these
better
speeds. It won't
for
do
those
anything.
Pits, but you know, that vehicle being only possibly running on 3 good tires.
Yeah, I mean,
if not less.
we don't know who we don't
that
have confirmation
also
who the reporter
plays
is,
to
but
why
everyone
they are not
has a
deciding
feeling.
to make any more aggressive moves. But as you mentioned, Gio, they are moving to close off the 405 there.
Everyone knows the
People
one
have
that
to
was
just
calling
get
him
out
out
the way.
in the.
I'm sure
I don't want to
wondering
name
what
names,
is
but
happening if you're from Southern
there's one
California.
suspect who's
This
at the
is a
very top of the
pursuit.
list.
And
That's for
typically
sure.
these pursuits would be whizzing by you if you ever do get caught in these situations, but this one, of course, going incredibly slowly. But you saw those CHP vehicles start to shift over to.
Oh
the
yeah,
left
look,
rear.
there's the tire on this chase. The front, it's either the front left or the front right. Is you can see it starting to bounce. Those Dodge Chargers are low profile tires, and it's going to start pulling out the. You know, once the rubber starts splitting, it starts taking the fenders and bumpers with it as well.
Tire may look the same if they were able to successfully
Yeah,
spike strip both
it could have been.
sides.
Yeah, I don't want to
It's
say
hard
names,
tell.
but there's a
Honestly,
couple of
the
suspects
indication
for
right
sure.
now, I mean, we can guarantee that it is that front left one,
Yeah.
but that also, you pointed out, it is a convertible, looks like a Mustang, at least from our perspective.
Yeah.
But, you know, the brake lights obviously are going there. It's just that this vehicle is moving, obviously we're zoomed in, but you can tell it is moving very, very slowly as we now transition onto the 405.
Yeah, it looks like it's speeding up, that this driver is trying to speed up just a bit, but I'm sure that that car is just not able to
No.
go any faster without having 4 good tires there. What I'm surprised is that we're not seeing any sparks at this point because, It
was
looked like
brief, very brief, yeah.
a little spark there because you can see that rim is hitting the concrete, and if you're going
Especially if you try to speed up
10,
and you're
12
establishing even
miles
more,
per hour,
even
yeah.
more
What is
friction,
happening?
That's what ends up.
Why is he? Oh, they're gonna shut down the on-ramp?
all those.
You know, potential, fire, sparks, all of that, of course, but.
Yeah,
there's
I don't
only
know
so
the year
much
on
you
this
can
Dodge
do
Charger, but
with a vehicle
obviously a
that is
Dodge Charger.
affected
They're-
to this
You guys
degree.
always doubt me.
Yeah,
You're like,
it
it's not a
looks
Dodge
like
Charger.
look
It's a
how
Dodge
it's
Charger.
inside
Look at
that
the damn Dodge
vehicle. You can
Charger.
make out a slight silhouette there. It's really hard to see given it's so dark in this area. But it looks like you can see at least, you know, the driver a bit, but you can't really make out anyone else at this point.
No, and all we can tell so far about the vehicle, aside from it's a convertible, it looks like it's just simply a two-door coupe, so there's not that much space inside one of those cars to
Yeah.
begin with. So at most, you might be able to have one, if not two more people in there, but again, we don't know the exact number. We know it almost looks now as if it's slowing down even more so. But just as we zoom out here on the 405.
Sorry,
just
guys, I'm a little
notice,
distracted. I'm not gonna be able to.
The response
till I
by
figure out
CHP
what's
is
going on here.
significant. You're noticing 4 vehicles in your screen right now,
Oh,
but we can tell
I'll
you
keep
from
the
just
volume
last
up on
10,
the
15
chase
minutes,
so you
it is
guys
a
can
lot
hear it.
more, behind and a very significant response to this situation right now.
Yeah, we're talking about what, a 6 to 10 lane freeway, the 405, depending on what area you're driving down. CHP has completely shut down traffic.
Yeah, I mean, this is as
just
major of
to
a story as we
keep
probably
people
had
safe.
since Draymond Green and
Also
Jordan Poole.
try to get this pursuit to come to a stop, to come to an end there. And at this point, it is just not happening.
And you see-
Looks like the vehicle starts to slow down a bit as we're
Yeah.
seeing it right now. And then occasionally, again, the way I described is just mind blowing, that it can keep going and they will start to speed up to about 12 to 14 miles per hour.
And there's a traffic slowdown there on the 405.
Yeah, they gotta cut off all the
Where
on-ramps so that
the,
people don't speed
suspect
past
made the
them.
Transition from
Gonna
the
create all sorts of
605 on the
traffic, not that the 405 needs an excuse.
Now backed
Look how many
up,
lanes the
and
405
it's
is.
something that has been affecting a multitude of people now, just in the last 15 to 20 minutes or so. And now you're looking back at the vehicle in pursuit right now, speeding up just a little
Yeah,
bit. here and
it's-
there. It's almost
We
like
have
these short
one
bursts
reporter
that pick
that's
up before-
reporting
and
what's going on with
obviously
Embiid.
it's hard to tell exactly what the driver is thinking, but
That's it.
given the situation and given the fact that it's just one tire at least that has been spiked, affecting the vehicle, you can only go so fast before you then start to lose even more control of the car.
Yeah.
Sparks start to come up from that tire, and then you're talking about a potential worse situation there if anything were to happen. But then
This
the
is
car
the
starts to
worst
slow
time to
down
have a
just little bit
chase,
more
man.
as you take a look at it.
Everything's
And
going on
we're
right
caught
now.
in a cycle of what is a very slow pursuit, but one that we've noticed CHP be on top of the entire time because there's nowhere else for this person to go. That spotlight, you see it moving there just a little bit, has been on top of it the entire time.
Yeah.
And as we try to zoom in here to see if we can get a better look at the driver.
It's hard to make out. You're seeing some sort of movement inside the vehicle, right? It looks like that driver is making some sort of movement with their hands.
Going a little bit
now,
faster, and there's
speeding up
smoke
to
coming out of the back
20
left now,
miles per
too.
hour. When you have a tire on its rim, this is going to be very, very difficult for this driver to keep that steering wheel straight. I'm surprised again we're not seeing any more sparks, especially because they picked up so much speed. Again, this person wanted for possible kidnapping. Now we don't know details on the situation of that kidnapping or where it may have occurred, but we do know that this pursuit started at the 605 interchange. And take a look, Gio, this person now trying to get
Coming
off.
the side.
Are we getting off the freeway? There's smoke
and
coming out there. He might be
really
picking up
getting
dust on
right to
the
there
shoulder.
and going
As
quickly
we
to
keep
the
an eye
right.
Don't you
on
dare
this,
stop
sight
under the
of
overpass.
Now
Okay.
there's the vehicle again, and we want to.
The only reason why this chase is still going is because he's doing these slow rates of speed, and that front left is tilting. Look at the aerodynamics of that Dodge Charger now, starting to tilt to the front left. That's
We're
gonna,
gonna work
any
on getting
bump
past
is
it.
gonna rip the fender off that thing in a heartbeat.
Quick maneuver by the suspect. All of a sudden, now you're seeing CHP inch closer and closer
Yeah.
to this vehicle.
We're gonna try to get Patrick O'Malley, retired sergeant, with us one more time. Patrick, can you hear us?
Yes, Leslie, I can.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us tonight as we continue to monitor this very slow-moving pursuit, but dangerous nonetheless. Are you hearing anything about what this suspect could have been involved in? We know possible kidnapping, but we're not getting any more details on that.
No, that's all I'm hearing also. I haven't heard if it was an armed kidnapping. I haven't heard where the kidnapping victim is.
It took
I
the
haven't
police
heard anything
forever to
else
get to
except
this
what you
chase
guys
too.
are
I don't know
currently
why.
reporting
Are we
right
that
now.
far down on the 405?
Given the
Yeah, I guess we're at
situation,
Seal
obviously,
Beach. That is
Patrick, when
far.
we deal with pursuits, you're used to things flying 50 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus miles per hour, especially when it involves a freeway like we've been seeing here on the 605 and the 405. So what is typically
The front left is down. If he starts
overall
accelerating,
sort
it's
of,
going to start sparking,
tactical
and the
plan
car
when
will
it
be
comes to
disabled.
dealing a
The only way this
situation? Because if I
chase
were
keeps
watching
going
from
is if he
home,
stays
I'd
at
be
these
thinking,
rates of
why
speed.
not try to cut off or corner a suspect that is moving so slowly? What tends to be the plan in a situation like this?
Well, the biggest thing and what it could be.
Seal
based on
Beach
the
is
number
not
of
close
units
to
that are
Downey.
behind it,
You'd have to go northbound, not
and
southbound.
how they are
I guess
treating
it's
it
kind
is
of
that it
close.
could be
Everything,
more of a
all roads lead
kidnapping
to Downey.
suspect. So when somebody is armed, the last thing that you want them to be doing is looking back or directly in your direction. So if they were to do some type of pit maneuver, anything like that, it puts other officers in danger. So this is like a dream scenario for this type of pursuit. They have the vehicle almost completely disabled at a speed that nobody can get, injured in terms of the suspect or the victim or the officers. And then they will just get all of their resources ready, which is, it's been going on long enough where they're almost probably all there. And then they will ride this until the end, until the car is completely disabled, and handle it from there.
It's pretty incredible, though, Sergeant, when these vehicles continue to move, even though they are at slow speeds. I know you said this is really the best scenario for CHP and law enforcement, but when we see this, I mean, it just blows my mind every time we see these vehicles that they're able to continue chugging along, and these pursuit suspects just aren't going to give up despite going 5 miles per hour.
Yeah, and then on this vehicle, it's hard to say so far, but it looks like the rear wheel, at least on the driver's side, it still has air. So I think it's probably...
He is getting
Mustang.
good
I
gas
can't really
mileage.
tell for sure. If it's a Mustang, then it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So, all of its horsepower and everything is still coming from the rear end. So he's just pushing it and just riding on those rims. So, until the rims disintegrate and everything falls apart, this car could just keep going at this speed for a while. And as we saw, a minute ago, he got it up to about 25 again. So, he could be just riding this out. He could be talking on the phone, calling, people trying to get some help or whatever he needs to do. But, they got, as you saw, they had the freeway completely shut down. They'll probably shut down the other side if it comes to a halt. And then they have it in the perfect situation with nothing around it except police officers, and they'll handle it from there.
Yeah, Patrick, we can tell you from our perspective, it certainly looked like a Mustang. When we zoomed in a little bit earlier, you could make out the logo and the icon there in the center of the vehicle. But to your point there about traffic, is that we've noticed it was stretching for miles. I mean, it seems like such a simple pursuit, and in a way, as you mentioned, it is, because you have everything in such a controlled fashion. But with traffic being backed up as well, it seems like you would rather obviously be in a situation like this if you had to, versus in other examples where we've seen pursuits happen in neighborhoods where someone will just keep driving 40 miles an hour through intersections, through red lights, etc., and just kind of keep it going. Whereas with this one, it's kind of an open, just wide open completely, and it almost looks, they're going so slow, it almost looks like...
I mean, this is actually a Dodge Charger. They're just
They're
just
makes
wrong
all
in
the
every way.
Decision making that much easier. They're at this point they're preparing for the termination of it, which could happen at any second. Where in the other ones, you're making decisions, based on what is the crime. Is the person armed? Are we going to continue this pursuit? Are the officers in danger? Or is the citizens in danger? Where in this situation, it's just all about, they have the information in terms of the kidnapping. So they know if the person was armed. They know, if the victim's in the car or if the victim's been dumped off. They have all the information. So that's what they're preparing all of their resources for. And as you can see, right now, they just have the entire freeway with a wall on one side and all of their officers and then the suspects. So it's just a perfect situation, and they're just going to ride this out. They could be getting other resources depending on the crime. they could be getting their SWAT teams in place and or to the scene and everything else. So it's all about safety. It's all about safety for the suspect and the officers.
Yeah, it truly is. And I know we're taking a wide look now, and it's incredible to see that wall of CHP officers there on the southbound lanes as they continue to follow this vehicle. But you can see plenty of
Traffic
people
on the other
stopping,
side too. I mean, they're gonna have to be
staring
slowing
on
down
northbound lanes
both
and
ways.
wondering what is happening. So it's going to affect traffic on both sides. But it's
Surprised they
interesting
haven't
when
laid
we
out
zoom
spike
up
strips
into
across the entire
suspect's
405 just to
vehicle here,
completely
you can
disable it,
get
but
a better look at just how damaged those two front tires are, and it looks like both. You can see the rubber just kind of flapping there.
Almost more so now than it was.
no, yeah, look at the front
And
left.
you-
Look at the front left. That's
you
not a
can see
shadow.
the silhouette of that
I don't think that's a
suspect.
shadow. I think the
haven't
rubber's
seen
starting to fall
what
off,
looks to be
as is the
anyone
front
else
right. They may have
inside. Again, you can't see
spiked
the
it
back seat
before.
there.
Look how flat those
Really hard
tires
to
are.
make out the front, but take a look. We're zooming up, and you really see that rubber just flapping as those rims are really grinding that cement. And for a pursuit suspect like this, Patrick, this would be really hard to navigate this vehicle, right? I can imagine just how loud this is.
Well, yeah, and that's why he's barely moving, because the car is just barely being able to roll. He's down to the rims. You barely have any rubber left on him, and he's just riding out his last moments. Before he either has to get out and run, or he's just going to open the doors and give up. And so there's just so much room for everybody to work with. It looked like he tried to get off the freeway when he did that one maneuver, but he didn't even make it off and stayed on the slow lane. So, yeah, he's just rolling now to the final point where he'll stop, and then we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, Patrick, even to that point about a possible footbail situation or an
Not on the
attempt to escape,
405.
It seems like that is incredibly
Not gonna get
unlikely
very
and
far.
impossible given the fact of where they are right now in the middle of a
I think the
freeway,
kidnapped
the number of
victim
law
is in the car
enforcement
with
vehicles
him.
in pursuit. And in a way, it goes back to your even earlier point about how this is even made a little bit easier because the likelihood
This is a
and
police
attempt
chase
to jump out
filibuster. Who
seems
said that in the
unlikely,
chat?
unless I'm wrong, and please tell us.
Well, this is taking up my
You're
most
right.
vital
The problem
screen
that
as I'm
we
maneuvering
have is
around
that
NBA
The
games.
ideal situation
But
would be to shut down
at least
all
we
the other
have
lanes
some,
of traffic also. Because, several pursuits that we've covered, you've seen where they jumped out and ran across traffic. So ideally, they would like to even slow down the other side of the freeway, the northbound side. It looks like it has been slowing down a little bit, but you have that HOV or toll lane where they're all moving pretty fast. So
I'm gonna drop
they
this
have
to
enough
a
units, and they have a couple
two-star
units
chase.
over near that center island. So if something was to
Despite the
happen,
want,
hopefully
probably
they can
warrants a
catch him before
3-star,
he,
but just
tries to
because of
jump
the
over that, 'cause
intensity,
that's the last thing they
we'll
want.
call it 2 for now.
Someone, running through the other lanes of traffic.
I was going to mention that because we have seen those pursuits where the people just get out of their vehicle and, they're already breaking the law now. So if they're running into the other side, into oncoming traffic, they're just simply trying to get away at that point. Do you think CHP will shut down those lanes anytime soon, or they're going to just continue to monitor at this point?
Yeah, based on all the units that they have involved and that are directly behind it, and then they even have more units that are holding traffic behind, it just looks like they made the decision just to deal with this side of the freeway.
W's in the chat. What did I miss?
If
Oh,
something happens where
look
he
who it is.
gets
Oh my
into that
God,
chain
of course.
there,
DJ Ryerson.
try to go
My
out
man.
before he gets over to those lanes. It just
Giving
depends on how
out,
it plays
looks
out.
like 10
They've had
tier
plenty
1
of time
subs to the
make all
chat.
their decisions on all
DJ, I
the
apologize that I
based
missed
on
your
crime.
sub drop there. Welcome back, my
It
friend.
seems
Up to
like the vehicle
635
just barely
for the
was
program.
moving
More
also,
W's in the
so
chat for our
You
community's
can
most
notice
generous
from
gifter.
some doubt
Ad-free
from
entertainment
now,
courtesy of good old
like you were
DJ.
mentioning earlier, the
Thank you as
rubber's
always.
flapping around and it's
Keeping me on my toes over
it
here,
really
as
is
this
fairly
chase is
moving. And you
not.
could even make the case that in some cases you could walk or run just as fast as the vehicle is going. Given where it is right now, this is the perspective here from the southbound lanes to the northbound lanes, and notice that right there. This is the impact we were talking about before, because while the pursuit is incredibly slow, it is by all logistical perspectives rather simple compared to other pursuits. This is the impact there when you have people trying to get someplace and you've essentially just stonewalled them until this pursuit comes to an end, which could be in the next few minutes, could be a while longer, and it's kind of hard to tell.
Even when it comes to an end, Patrick, it takes a while for them to get people into custody and really move this car, be able to tow it away. But I do know the goal of CHP is to just get the freeway open as quick as possible.
Yeah, this is a nightmare for CHP. The last thing CHP wants is their freeway shut down.
Right. Think of what all the traffic this is causing. It's going to back up all the way to the valley north of Los Angeles. We're down in south of Seal Beach, and there may be cars proceeding in.
They'll try to get this freeway cleared up as quick as possible and then get all that traffic.
I'm surprised they haven't went in for a pit, even if it doesn't disable the vehicle, or they haven't spike stripped it. They're probably worried about the kidnapping suspect could be a child, so maybe they're just trying to communicate with the driver to get them to give up and let the kidnapping victim go. That's the only explanation here, because usually the CHP would be interested in initiative to disable that vehicle for sure.
If this was an armed kidnapping, it's a very serious felony. And in that situation, they could be calling in their SWAT teams now, and that would be what you would want in front of this, would be some type of SWAT vehicle or Bearcat vehicle. So you have, an armored vehicle where
you guys got to see the traffic. Oh my God. I don't want to X out of this video. The traffic on the 405, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lanes going all the way up through LA County, approaching is that the Sepulveda Pass? Approaching the Sepulveda Pass. 9 lanes backed up. It's Carmageddon behind this right now. Probably the busiest freeway in all of the United States.
Directly behind the suspect, or is this something that is just a pure, we just wait until that person stops? I'm not entirely
Oh, they showed it?
how it would
Okay.
work in this situation.
Sorry, guys. I'm
Is there any
bouncing between
attempt
many
at trying to
screens right
communicate
now,
with the
so
suspect, or
I'm
waiting
not
until it
as
ends before even that sort of thought crosses their mind?
locked in on this as usual. There's just so much going
It depends
on.
on what type of kidnapping it is. If it's a known suspect, then they would be trying to contact him the whole time.
Yeah, you got to take the 101 if you're in the valley right now. You got to avoid the
You know,
405.
either friends or whoever knows it, and then they would be, between dispatch and the supervisors and watch commanders, they would be trying to contact him and trying to convince him to, just pull over and give up. And they would have crisis negotiators that could be involved also.
Yeah, I remember the golf cart chase. Who did a callback to the golf cart chase? I remember that chase.
Who they are. So this could be one of those too, where they just have no idea who this guy is and they have no way to figure out how to contact him.
Retired Police Sergeant Patrick O'Malley, we're going to keep
Yeah,
you
I mean, it would be a
here
one-star
on the
chase if it
line.
wasn't
I
for the
just wanna
want,
get
but this
some of our
want is
viewers
obviously
up to
pretty
speed
serious.
since we have hit the 8 o'clock hour here on KCAL News. If you're just joining us right now, we are currently monitoring this
He does have
pursuit of
we
a
still haven't hit the
possible
22
kidnapping
interchange yet.
suspect
It's 405 first. Oh,
happening
here we
here
go.
on the
Here comes the wide
south right the
scope
22.
of
We know this started
how
around
much traffic this is causing.
6:45, right
I
on
think
the
they're
605
probably
line
also doing 5 to 10 miles an
At
hour
some point,
apiece.
spike strips
Every
were
lane.
deployed, and we know that the car has the front 2 tires definitely ran through those spike strips, but because you can see them down to the rim there, you can see a lot of the rubber from that tire just flapping around. But Gio, for the last,
Right,
an hour,
glowing
more than an
traffic.
hour, this car now has led CHP on a pursuit, and at some point going 5 miles an hour, and nothing has come to an end. This person has not decided to get
Right,
out.
if that's how fast they were even going, because we've vacillated between high-end speeds and potentially 2025, and then very quickly coming back down to this slow crawl. But on top of all those details Leslie was just giving out, it's also turned into what you noticed there on screen was a traffic incident as well, because despite the fact that this is a very slow pursuit, something that CHP seems to be very much
Good
on top
question.
of,
Oma Killer asks, is public urination legal in these scenarios? I would figure you're allowed to get out of the car and take a leak. I'm sure a lot worse shit has happened. Oh my God. This is south of, this is like Seal Beach too. This isn't even the busy part of the 405. If you go up to like where the 10 interchange is, oh my Lord.
Become an issue in terms of backing up even further and getting in people's way. So if you even had plans on jumping on there anytime soon, if you're still at home, that might be something to avoid in the very near future.
There's got to be a
Right
viral
now,
video that
it is
pops out
all of
from
those lanes on the
that
second
traffic
floor
jam
are
of someone
shut
just
off
going live on
and shut
TikTok
down
and doing something
until this
ludicrous.
pursuit ends. So on top
And
of
what's
that, we
stopping
monitor the
a citizen's
situation.
arrest, someone driving through the blockade and just pitting just saying, fuck it. I'm driving past all the police. I gotta go. I got a pregnant wife. I'm sick. I got somewhere to go, right? All those people are staying in formation for now. What happens when one breaks ranks is my question.
Into tomorrow morning if it turns into something with the suspect there sort of waiting it in.
Yeah, exactly. These aren't our most exciting pursuits. You know, a lot of people like the exciting.
Yeah.
ones that have a lot
Do you
of
guys want the 100-mile-an-hour
fun.
wrecks?
This one
Someone
looks like
dies, or do you want a
it's gonna fly
10-mile-an-hour
off
chase?
You know, until
where everyone is
it looks
technically
like it's gonna
safe,
be
right?
going
All these
2
are
miles an
different.
hour, and we'll just wait and see if you know, the CHP or the police officers that are involved or the deputy sheriffs are getting other resources into place to make a different move. But you know, for now, they can just ride it out like this, and everybody stays safe, and it's just not as exciting as normal.
Yeah, and, you know, we know many of the times as a sergeant making those calls, I'm sure you've called many of these pursuits in your career, but people watching this may be asking, why not a pit maneuver right now?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You know, everybody always says, well, why not just pull right in front of them? Why not block them off? A lot of police departments have policies that they can't ram a vehicle. They can use the pit maneuver, but they can't ram a vehicle. They can't get in front of a vehicle. It's basically due to the dangers that are involved. And in this situation,
Hey, shout out to your
it's
wife.
so
Yeah.
simple to get
Those
to
of you
the
that
car
were in an
front,
ad break,
but
yeah,
if
I
the
was
car
I was
is
questioning
in the
when.
car, you have to have an
There's an officer
that
getting
can
off that's probably going
identify
ahead of the chase to shut down another
this
on-ramp
suspect was armed.
from
So
the street,
they just wanna
from
keep
probably an
moving
intersection.
forward.
I was wondering, all of those cars that we just saw that's
All the
causing the
officers that are trained
405
in
to
the pit
glow,
maneuver, it
when
takes
will
2,
one of
3,
them
4
break
officers
ranks
to do it.
and just say, fuck it, we're driving past whatever's going on in front of us, and then it creates a too fast, too furious when the garage opens scenario where all those cars pour out of it. How are 8 police officers supposed to stop thousands and thousands of pissed off drivers on the 405 southbound? 22 interchange coming up.
You know, make their moves from there. We'll see. I mean, I see some officers that are pulling up now. There are some different types of vehicles, so they may have something in plan a plan in place that they try to bring this to an end a little sooner than keeping this going at 2 miles an hour. So we'll just have to see.
And one of the other things that you were mentioning to us earlier, Patrick, was the fact that this allows officers a benefit of time and planning, because you're right in the sense that it's not, quote unquote, an exciting pursuit by typical standards here in Southern California. This is something that allows them
What just
to
happened in the South
have
Carolina
a
game?
strong hold on the situation, because we've been able to maintain this vehicle even from SkyCal, from our chopper, incredibly easily. So I can only imagine with the number of law enforcement vehicles in pursuit, this has been a very manageable tactical situation for them.
Yeah, for sure. And you have probably numerous police departments involved also with CHP.
Appreciate you, real shooter.
Sheriff's Department.
It's going to be another big week on Sirius with all the events that have transpired in the league tonight. That's for sure.
You'll have officers on the other side of the freeway.
SWAT in the chat says, my guess is he has a hostage in the car with him and they think he's armed and that's why they haven't boxed him in. I'm going to second your opinion as to why they are allowing this to go on, because he's probably making threats. He's probably armed and or claims to be armed, and the police officers do not, they're just going to let him keep driving as long as everyone's safe.
We know that,
And the traffic is going to be the
suspect
collateral
possibly
damage.
involved in a kidnapping. Now, we don't know the details of that kidnapping, where the victim is, what happened to the
I did. The
victim.
Rockets were down, what,
We
31
are
points?
waiting
They
to
all
hear
forced
more
overtime,
from
but they lost.
CHP. But does this give you any indication that this, you know, every suspect that leads police on a pursuit is serious, but this just seems like, you know, police.
I mean, they're
may be
really
thinking
close
this
too. You
person
see
is
cars pulled over on the
extremely
side of the
dangerous.
road. Maybe those are stringers.
You know, maybe
That could potentially be a
armed in
stringer.
some sort of way. It just, the amount of CHP officers is really making me question that.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know where this originated. I think it was Santa Fe Springs, which is LA County Sheriff's Department. And then looking at some of the vehicles, I can't tell if they're all CHP or not. So it just depends. Usually, if it's CHP wants to handle it on their own. So the other departments will back off and just provide support. So this probably is all CHP.
Were there any moments with Drake and DeMar after the game? Did you hear what he had to say on the broadcast? I don't know if he was joking.
But as you mentioned, mention that, I do see,
Considering
and I
what
can't make
happened.
out what city it may be from, but one of those.
I don't think they had a
vehicles that
post-game
police-
moment
Yes,
together.
it did.
Okay.
It stood out compared to the other ones. And
Did anything happen?
maintaining
I didn't
an
see
eye
any
on
footage
the,
of it.
Suspect's vehicle there.
Yeah, I know why, but I was just curious if the two of them
Pointed out
did
the
anything on
spotlight there at the
camera
top
after the final
as well.
buzzer.
But to Leslie's point earlier, Patrick, it's the persistence. It's that's what I think is so striking to us so far, is the fact that, you know, that dichotomy of the fact that it's such a quote unquote easy pursuit to handle because the suspect is going so slow, and it makes managing it so easy, but also the question of, well, it is going so slow, so it feels like it should be over or under control right now. There's a friction there that I think is really interesting, and of course, obviously concerning, given the fact that it's still ongoing, despite a vehicle that a lot of people would consider is going incredibly slow.
But yeah, in normal pursuits, you know how adrenaline works, and a lot of these officers get very high on the adrenaline. They got to, refer back to their training and their experience in the termination points of pursuit. That's something that, they don't have a lot of adrenaline as this pursuit goes on, so they have to stay very aware and on their toes in terms of what the next step is going to be when he does jump out or something else changes, because it's been going on at 5 miles an hour or less for so long. It does get a little bit boring until you're getting to the end. So I just the way that it's playing out though with CHP involved, CHP does not like to have things drag on. So the last thing they want is a freeway that's completely shut down like this. So it just leads me to believe that there must be some type of weapon that's involved in this, or something where they don't want to end this with a pit maneuver. So that's why they're letting this ride out how they have been doing it for so long.
Yeah, and that's, of course, as you've mentioned countless times, for the safety of the officers and the safety of maybe the other people there on the freeway.
Oh,
on
he
the
does
other
say, "Fuck
side.
out of here, pussy."
When you look at this,
Watching
this
the video
vehicle
right now.
looks like it's coming to a stop, but every time we think it is, the driver just keeps going.
Someone asked why
chugging
no
along.
sniper.
But what would maybe
We're not
be
in
the
San
next
Bernardino.
move once this does come to an end? Or
I would think
I should say,
I-
if the driver stops.
Well, it's going to be the same thing they're doing now. So, especially if there's a weapon involved, if he comes to a complete stop, then it's going to be like some of the pursuits we've seen before, where they are just going to wait for him to come out. There's many, they have many other resources
Yeah,
to
I mean,
force him out of the vehicle.
I
at that
think he
point in
is
time.
saying that to
But,
DeMar.
when
It's
it gets
just,
to that point,
I
they're
can't, you
hoping
can't
that
really
he just puts his hands up,
confirm it.
opens the door and exits
Just
the
based on
vehicle
that
and
one
taken into
camera.
custody. An ideal thing that could happen upcoming, which we could hope for, would be that they use more spike strips and try to get all of the
It's
tires
de-
flat.
it's
instead of
definitely
just
what
working
happened.
on simply all rims. But that's just, it's hard, they could do it, but they also have all the police vehicles spread all the way across the freeway, so they'd have to get somebody, put it out there and then also get those moved so that it doesn't flatten the tires of the police vehicles.
One of the things also, Patrick, that we've been looking at earlier these last 20, 30 minutes or so is you could very easily tell, obviously we could tell the driver was there, we could see a person moving back and forth, but it's been very difficult
the way
to
that this
even point
broadcast
out or
was shot, he
notice,
could be saying that to anyone.
potential
You can't
kidnapping
confirm he
victim
was
in the
aiming
car
those
as
words
well,
at
but
DeMar.
it's worth
So
repeating for people at home.
I can't do
the
anything with it,
reason
but
that this
I will
pursuit
agree.
hasn't
I do
ended
think
yet,
that's
to
what
your point
happened.
about
I just,
foot maneuvers
I
and
can't put it
tactical
out from the
awareness that
main.
needs to be made in cases like this and situations like this is that
Yeah, it's a Dodge Charger, and we have an emoji in the chat for all of you that
their safety,
don't think it's a
officer
Dodge
safety, and
Charger.
everything else going back to your earlier points
a white
about
Dodge
not
Charger.
having,
And
even a
thankfully our
suspect with a weapon,
chat
having that weapon
and our
pointed toward
Nightbot.
officers,
Someone asked the
as
Nightbot
well.
what kind of car this is. The Nightbot always
Yeah,
gets it
exactly
right.
And I haven't been
We
able
use
to make
artificial
any calls or get
intelligence
any
in
other
this Twitch
information
channel.
in
If you're
terms
just
of
joining us,
what this kidnapping was,
that
but exactly what
the
you
Nightbot
said.
will
If you could
will
just
tell you
imagine,
what
that
kind of
there's
car
some
you're watching
child or
during a
some
police
kidnapping
chase.
victim that's inside
So if
this
someone can
vehicle,
hit
or say it's even inside the trunk,
exclamation point,
there's all kinds of possibilities.
can someone do it?
That
Thank
could
you.
be the other reason why
Nightbot
they're,
says
they don't
the
want
suspect's
to get this
vehicle is a
vehicle
Dodge Charger.
spun around or get
Thank you,
into some
Nightbot.
type of accident or end
You are
up in some
correct.
type of big shooting. So, this is like we had talked about before. This is like a dream scenario.
It's the exact
that's run out
emoji in the
until
chat
the
is
vehicle
this
will no
car.
longer move
And that's a
or run
Dodge
out of
Charger
gas,
in the chat.
and then
This is a
they
Dodge
will move on
Charger
to their next
on the
step in terms
405
of
southbound.
taking the suspect into custody.
Yeah, many times we see these vehicles.
Barosh, you like the
coming
merch
down,
quality.
you know,
Thank you for the
covered
free shout out
pursuits that
there.
would last
I told you
hours.
the merch
And it
quality
never
is
matters how
better than I
many,
expected. The
tires
quality
are
of
still
the
functioning.
actual material
The car will
is top
continue
notch.
to move.
Birdsintheair.com, top
But,
left corner of your screen if you want
Patrick,
to check
I
it
wanna
out.
get to
Rave
what kind
reviews.
of communication do you
Worth the
think
money if
CHP
you
is
like nice
able to
products
currently have with this suspect right now? Because
that
this is
lasts a
pretty,
long
as
time.
we
You can always tell the
mentioned,
difference with a
slow
shitty
moving
t-shirt.
and,
The way it's like screen
kind of
printed on there.
a good
And the
scenario
shirt just
when it
feels
comes
all
to
like thready
law
and
enforcement and
not
allowing
these
them
shirts.
to plan. Are they able to negotiate with this suspect right now? Do you think that's something that they're already doing if they're able to get a hold of them?
Do we have Christmas sweaters? We did last year. I can ask to bring them back. It is approaching Christmas season. So I will do my best to get them back in the store
No,
ASAP.
he's not going to give up, and saying, you know,
We sold
whatever
out
the
last
next move
year.
is. Or it's possible that they have no idea who this guy is. You know,
Here,
the
I'll text my
vehicle,
guy right now.
Maybe, you know, it might not have license plates on it for them to figure out where it's registered to and send officers there to talk to family and try to get information that way. There's just so many variables that are involved when you're trying to figure out who somebody is. Police have a lot of resources that they can use to try to figure that out. But it's just hard
Yeah,
to say if this is
it's
some type of
unconfirmed,
domestic
but
situation,
there's
domestic
very
violence,
likelihood that there is a
or just
child
some
in here
completely
being
random
kidnapped,
kidnapping off some street
which
corner.
is
So
why
it's just-
they're proceeding with
it's really
such
hard to
caution.
say, but the thing
There's a
is
reason why,
that,
because they would have ended this a
it's
while
almost
ago.
100%
They would
that
have
all the
pit,
officers involved
spun them
and the
around,
patrols that are involved know
boxed them
exactly
in,
what happened in the original kidnapping,
and got rid of
that's-
them.
That's how they're treating this situation, is based on those facts.
And of course, we are going to continue to keep an eye on this, as you are as well. Patrick O'Malley, retired police sergeant, giving us some time tonight. We want to pause you for a second because we want to shift the perspective a little bit here as we continue to monitor the situation, because it's turning into, or rather has turned into, a traffic nightmare as well.
Ooh, traffic
Many people
traffic
stuck
shot
in
coming
this
up here.
traffic right now, and our very own Michelle Julie is also stuck in that traffic.
No,
Michelle, can you hear me?
Hey, Leslie. Hi, Gio. When I looked up and saw what I thought were news choppers in the sky, I called, of course, the assignment desk, figuring that there must be something going on ahead of me. We had kind of traffic had ground to a halt there right at the 605 and the 405. And in fact, I was then notified about this slow pursuit happening ahead of me. So I'm, you know, amongst hundreds of other drivers moving very, very slowly, like 2-3 miles an hour on the 405.
Michelle, where are you on the 405 right now?
So I just, within the last 60 seconds or so, I was in the fast track lane. So I was able now to go to divert onto the 22. So anybody lucky enough to be in the fast track lane and able to get over, or for that matter, I guess you can, you know, at the far right, you can get into the, onto the 22. We are now free of the 405, the mess on the 405. So I just got on the 22 and it's smooth sailing, but the 405 is just red lights as far as you can see. And so I wasn't stuck in it too long, but for anybody who's right behind that pursuit, they are going to be in for a long haul tonight, it looks like.
Yeah, Michelle, we were just.
Oh, those were
mentioning
stringers on the
that
side of the
last
road.
night
I
when
knew
we
it.
out and showed
The account is
long line of
BPW
traffic
underscore
that
services
started off as
714.
just,
Those were stringers on the
some
side that drove
congestion at
ahead.
605 before then getting on the 405.
They
It's
got
now turned
the
into something that
stringer
would almost
footage
look
as
like
the
a live
vehicle's
shot
driving
on a major
slowly by,
holiday,
and you
major
can see in the
Labor
vehicle,
Day or Thanksgiving or Christmas, and in fact,
it looks
it's a
like,
pursuit that's not typical.
is that a
What we
child?
typically think about here in Southern California, going 70 plus miles an hour.
BPW
Now it's
underscore
going at
services
about
714
5, if not
is the
less than that
account.
right now. And
If you
I
wanna
was
see
quoting
who's in the
that
front
as well, where
seat.
you were talking, and you were right. If you are fortunate enough to jump on the 22, you will be clear to go wherever you need to there. But otherwise, you are stuck for a significantly long amount of time there on the 405 while this is still going, and there doesn't seem to be any indication that it's ending anytime relatively soon.
Michelle, before we let you go here, were you
Yeah.
close enough at all to see how many CHP officers were there on the ground?
So I was too far back. But the other issue, of course, is everyone now is bailing, trying to get off the 405. So say flashing lights. But when I looked on my map, I did see red for, a decent stretch of the freeway, but it didn't seem as bad, so I thought I'd get right past it, but then.
I can't officially confirm if it's a child or not, but someone in the front seat. There is someone in the front seat.
Yeah, this is gonna take a long time, and Michelle,
We might be in for a marathon chase, people. You wanted one, you got one.
Pursuits.
I don't-
It's always.
Gas is not gonna be a
incredible to see
problem.
these vehicles continue to chug
They're
along.
obviously
We
not
know
moving
this-
in until they
this
know what's going
suspect
on
has
with said
2 front
suspect
tires that are down to
and
their rims,
the kidnapping
but
victim as
not
well. They don't want to
unusual.
put them in danger. You know, he could be making calls to the police department threatening to harm them if they come close. So this is just the equivalent of a moving standoff.
Are trying to get, the suspect to comply, and I thought, wow, how long is that going to take, and how much further will the backup stretch, back into LA County?
Yeah, Michelle Geely, one of the lucky ones tonight, being able to jump on the 22 there before getting stuck in that.
We're going the wrong way.
405.
We're not headed
Even
towards Downey.
Further, Michelle, we thank you so much for
Yes.
calling
Going
us.
away
We
from
know you're
Downey at
always
4
on
miles an
top of
hour.
it, and it's so good to get your.
Well, this is going to be a major
perspective
story
there,
for a
especially
multitude of
because you were
reasons.
stuck in
1, the
that 405
want.
for a little
2,
while there.
the police response. 3,
Okay, guys,
the traffic.
thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. And as we bring in now retired Police Sergeant Patrick O'Malley back as we continue to keep an eye on this pursuit. This angle, Patrick, we've been talking so far about how you can notice both of the front tires basically just riding on the rims. There was something else I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah,
earlier
stringers
because,
are citizen
you
reporters
notice
that
this vehicle
get
sort of
footage from
occasionally
crimes that
try to
occur.
pick up and ramp
Go
up
watch
its
the movie
speed
Nightcrawler
before
if you haven't seen it yet.
Very quickly slowing back down to what we're noticing there. But look, there's the passenger right there. You see in the seat there, almost
can't
knocking.
see a passenger.
Yeah, it almost
Yep.
looked like they were knocking on the window, or at least maybe.
So the front right is
Since
down
we're
as well.
you can
Front right
actually
and
make
front
out
left are
that
both
there
down.
is someone there.
Again, we don't know if this is for sure a kidnapping victim, but we do know this is a situation involving a kidnapping.
But ultimately, the point here and the concern, at least from our perspective, Patrick, is the fact that, we've seen other pursuits where a vehicle will lose a tire.
Front
or
right
be
and
driving
front
on the
left.
rim, but
Those of you
still
that
try
were
to
just
go
coming
at
out of an ad
significantly
break,
high speed, and
we were
that's
saying that
when
this
the
has
friction
potential to
comes
be a
in. That's when
marathon
sparks
chase for a
come in,
couple
and
of
what
reasons.
happens when you have friction like
The
that? It
police
develops a fire, and it could turn
response,
into a potentially even more disastrous
the traffic,
situation. So,
and that it's essentially a moving standoff. And gas is not going to be an issue, as you can see that beautiful Dodge Charger logo on the back of this white Dodge Charger is not burning through fuel like we usually do. So these are all of the elements,
It is kind of odd that they're going this slow because
all of the elements of a marathon chase.
Rear tires and this rear-wheel drive fast vehicle.
That's not a pony. That's the Dodge. You guys understand that what the Dodge Charger and Dodge Challenger logos look like?
With that, seeing that person in the passenger seat, I thought I saw someone in there before, but I wasn't sure. But that kind of explains, the tactics
Hash and
that are
rolls,
being
you're
used right now.
incorrect. That is not a
Just
Mustang.
keep the
That's a
vehicle
Dodge
distance,
Charger.
let
Nightbot.
the vehicle
Someone
ride
bring the
out,
Nightbot into this. We just spent all this time building artificial intelligence to get the Nightbot to analyze the car just based on the camera angle. Watch how brilliant this artificial intelligence
Yeah, and not to
is.
cut you off here, Patrick, but I
The
do
Nightbot
have an
says
answer,
the suspect's
to that
vehicle
question
is
you
a
were posing
Dodge
there.
Charger.
Our
So
assignment
I don't know what to
desk
tell
just
you.
let me know that
You got a problem with-
call to
go have a
911
problem with
came in
artificial
around
intelligence.
6:45 p.m. tonight, and it
It's
was
never
the
wrong.
kidnapping victim's family
AI
that
is
called
never wrong.
911, stating this emergency. We know then that this pursuit started at the 5-6.
Some are saying it's I'm trying to
Again,
decide
we
what
don't
type of
for
Dodge
sure
Charger though.
know if
Is it
that
the
is kidnapping
V8 or the
victim. We
V6?
believe it possibly is, but how much does that then heighten a pursuit? And what
JP says,
moves
bro, it's wrong.
CHP
I
is
can
going
assure
to
you
make?
it's not wrong. Do you know how much time we spent into building this AI? It can't be wrong. That's a Dodge Charger. I know what a Dodge Charger looks like.
Going on, it was kind of easy to guess, that those were the facts, but, we don't want to speculate also. But you could just tell by the way the police were treating this, to have a freeway completely closed down with, thousands of vehicles being blocked. CHP is taking their time with this one. And based on that, which if a family called, this could be some type of domestic kidnapping. So in that situation, then they know the suspect's, probably know the suspect's identity, they know his name. Obviously, now we have several cell phones that are in the car also. So, there could be all kinds of communication going on. And if you bring a weapon into play also, that just, it makes it that much more complex. So that's why they're just going to let this ride out, and hopefully, if they're in communication with him, they can convince him to just turn off the car and step out, and then they can resolve whatever happened from there. Because a lot of times in domestic situations, it's not actual kidnappings, but sometimes it is. Sometimes they went willingly, and then they wanted to change the story, and because the family didn't like the other person, however it plays out. So that's this one. It's unknown, who the two people are and the exact facts, but that's why the police are treating it this way, and they're just going to let it keep riding out.
Yeah, right now that vehicle is going, you could easily argue the slowest we've seen this entire, pardon me, this entire last hour or so since we've been keeping an eye on it here on air. You almost get a look at the license plate there as well, but
Like one of those very distinctive license plates, maybe one of those specialized ones.
Yeah, I think you're right. Though I mean, ultimately, it's
Hard
just
to make out.
It is hard to make out, but even more so the fact that this car is just there's nothing you can do in terms of just anything other than what we've been seeing so far this evening, and that now we've been able to make out someone in the passenger seat. The driver's right there, and you're just snailing along.
It looks like that driver there is wearing either glasses or
Yes,
sunglasses.
notice some sort of it looked like sunglasses, though again hard to tell from just a few minutes ago when I first noticed them as well.
It does look like sunglasses there, but you can't really make out the passenger, although we do know there's someone sitting there. This has really it does really explain what we have seen, Patrick. But when you think about what maybe this person may be going through, what a scary situation. Your family called 911 on your behalf. So you just wonder just how much danger is that person in?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Because if you look at this car also, I don't know, it looked maybe like a Nevada plate. So a lot of times rental cars have out-of-state plates. So, did somebody pick up a rental car and then have the intention?
Oh, look at all the people on the bridge. Welcome to Los Angeles, my friends. This is how word gets around here if you've never been to LA before. When there's a chase like this and it makes network television, you will get people on the bridges, parked on the side of a bridge, of an overpass, just to get a view of this police chase. Look at all those people, man. Oh my God. Those are stringers, those are fans, this is the police chase culture in Los Angeles. This shuts down the city. They interrupt programming. Everyone wants a view, like it's a Dodger parade, especially when it involves the 405. When it creates the type of traffic you're about to see, there's photo opportunities here.
Well, and this is sort of the irony of a pursuit like this, as it looks like the vehicle, it looks like it's at a complete stop.
Pull up along. Yep.
If not,
Yeah, it does look like we are fully stopped
we've
now.
ever seen.
And those people on the bridge are about to have
Right, it's at a complete
an
stop.
amazing
Right
view.
now, so now
and
you
or
see,
bullets in their face.
Officers exiting their vehicles right now and approaching the situation
Of bullets in their
consciously.
face.
It almost looks, and Leslie, please tell me if it looks like they have weapons.
Somebody asked, how much do
It
stringers
does,
get for their
they have
videos? It depends on the
weapons on
supply
right
and the
now.
demand of
It looks
the
like
supply of
maybe
videos, how many
they're
people
giving
have the
out
footage,
commands.
and demand
That would
news
be the
networks
case
that
right
need
now,
the
right,
proprietary
Patrick?
footage. In this case, they have news helicopters above the air, so unless it's a really special shot that the news networks did not capture, they're probably going to get very little, if any, at all. Now we have a standoff situation. Arm is out the window. Arms are out the window.
Non-lethal force, beanbags and other things like that. They probably have a canine. The police vehicle that is involved in this, I think, is a canine. So that's why he was there. And
Canine unit
I think it's
on the ground.
outside the door. So then that's what his vehicle
Let's
is.
look
So
for
they-
wagging tail. I see a tail. K2 unit right there in the middle of the formation. Dog jumping like crazy. There's a Doge. And it's hopping.
Yeah, now open.
Okay, doors open.
Door and it looks
That dog,
like
it
they're
might,
going
oh my
to
God, are they going to let that thing go?
attempt to
If
get
he gets out, are they gonna let the dog go?
If that is the the
passenger.
passenger.
Fur missile locked and loaded.
Their door.
Passenger
That
side is
the
ajar as
kidnapping
well.
victim.
Tense
You know,
moments
we
here
just wanna
as
make
a
sure
fur
both
missile
get out safe.
Fox 1
They're
is in the
safe.
chamber.
Take a look, you can see what we believe maybe the driver.
Yeah, who knows if there was a switch, but it looks like that is the suspect there exiting the vehicle, hands up in the air, and
Where's he going?
Potentially the victim on the other side there. Looks like it's.
This is not your traditional give up.
Here's the thing, that
That is-
suspect is really walking a lot. He's now holding that
Embracing,
victim, embracing
What
that
on
victim,
earth?
hugging, well, I should take that back, hugging that woman there, the passenger. We don't know yet if it is the kidnapping victim, but take a look, it looks like
Don't know if it's a victim. Is there someone else in the back seat? Where's she
He has his
going?
hands up,
The driver
walking
does have
backward.
their hands up, yeah.
She's wiping.
She's
her
wiping
face right
tears
now.
away.
It almost
He's
seems
going to
like
jail for a while.
Significant emotion in this situation right now as she backs away from him.
Looks
he
like
is
she's
backing
talking to
up.
someone on the phone as
Yeah.
well, that may be law enforcement giving her commands on what to do.
And that an end to what has been an incredibly chaotic situation so far this last hour and a half. But to Patrick's point earlier, that this seems to
Romeo
be the
and
final
Juliet,
steps
Chase.
as
Come on,
we,
man.
As we put a bow on what's been a
All right,
really
backing
chaotic,
up.
crazy situation. A slow
Appears to be
slow
wearing
pursuit now finally coming
Jordan
to an
Lowe's.
end here on the 405.
Jordan 1 Lowe's.
The suspect now seemingly stepping back.
Okay,
getting
we're
on
going to the
ground,
knees.
and
We're
it
about
looks
to be
like
in
we get an
custody.
end to this pursuit.
Finally able to get that suspect into
Not code
handcuffs.
4
This is the
just
moment
yet. We gotta see what
CHP
happens
officers
with
have been waiting
the
for
person on the side of the road.
almost 2
And
hours now, and you
then
can see it looks like they're not treating
they gotta
her as a
clear the
suspect, so I
vehicle.
can believe that maybe
I thought they might be
that
pandas,
is
but I
the
didn't want to
kidnapping victim
confirm.
there, and you can see she's
without
wiping
knowing.
away some tears. She's speaking to
Those are
that
dunks. Yeah, sorry, not
CHP
Lowe's.
officer. But wow, Gio, we don't see that often where the suspect then embraces the other
Big difference. My
person.
apologies. Those are dunks, not
And
Lowe's.
police, you can tell, backed off. And I'm guessing that is because, and Patrick, if you're still on the line, maybe officers were giving her commands
Pandas
on
are
the
a
phone. It looked
quintessential
like she was
kidnapper
talking to
shoe.
someone on the
They'll
phone.
match the black and white uniform he's about to wear in
Go ahead,
prison.
Patrick.
It was, I mean, it played out pretty much how we had, how we were saying. It looks like it was two younger people and, maybe an ex-boyfriend or something like that who showed up and then, according to the family, forced her into the vehicle to leave. So, as we were talking about communication and other things, it looks like they probably had communication with them the entire time. She was probably either talking to the police and her family or however it played out. And, in the end, they were able to convince them just to pull over and give up, and it all ended peacefully.
And it looks like they're still communicating there with her outside of that CHP vehicle. And going back to the earlier point there, because we were filling in some details in case you're just catching the end of this pursuit, that according to our assignment desk, a 911 call came in around 6:45 this evening from the victim's family stating this emergency, this possible kidnapping, and then that evolved into a wild chase that started on the 5605 interchange, went south on the 605 before then shifting over to the 405, and at one point spike strips.
Gotta clear the vehicle, see if anyone's
And then at that
inside
point,
there,
we're
or-
watching a very
Okay, now we're
slow
code 4.
developing pursuit.
Now you can
The
drop your
car
fours in the
inching
chat
forward,
as
traffic
officer just
backed
cleared
up
the
for
vehicle.
seemingly miles and evolving
We're gonna get a
into,
wide shot
a potentially
of
domestic
the
situation
traffic
into
situation here in
now
a second.
Culminating there, you see on the other freeway there,
Of
spectators
yeah.
lining up and taking a look at this.
Very dangerous situation.
Spectators
there.
got a
Well,
bird's
we know
eye,
this
suite
is
level
gonna take a
view
while for CHP
of this
to
one.
move all their vehicles as well as the suspect's vehicle, but you saw it there, one person taken into custody, what we
And
believe
now
is maybe
the traffic.
kidnapping victim.
And since we've come to a
taken
complete
away
stop,
safely, and you
look
can see what's
at
left now
the
on the
glow
405, this
all the way
line
up.
of
Ay,
traffic.
caramba. Ay,
Hopefully
Chihuahua,
CHP,
caramba.
their goal is always to get the freeways moving again.
Look,
so
that's
they're gonna
1,
try to
2,
wrap
3,
this
4,
up as
5, 6,
quick
7,
as
8,
possible
9 lanes.
to get traffic flowing again. But that was a pretty wild pursuit ending here on the 405 South.
And we'll continue to monitor the traffic situation as it evolves through the rest of the night. This is not the last you'll hear of it. We want to thank Retired Police Sergeant
Major,
Patrick O'Malley for your
major
time. Patrick,
chase that
thank you so much. We appreciate
attracted-
the insight. We appreciate your time on this.
That
Saturday.
attracted
Have a good night. Thank you.
all sorts of police activity. Eventually, the suspect has surrendered. Don't know what the situation was, if she was the suspect in the kidnapping or the victim in the kidnapping or not. But that's where we end this program tonight. On that note, my friends, don't go anywhere near the 405. That would be my recommendation if you're watching this for the next couple hours. And there's a disabled vehicle sitting in lane number 4 now, so that's going to take a while to clean up. All right, my friends. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. I appreciate you hanging out for the last hour and 20 seconds, hour-long chase. Birdsintheair.com, top left corner of your screen for merchandise. At Skywob Alerts are your notifications if you would like to be notified of any time a chase occurs in the future. There will be no more Twitch notifications for the remainder of this evening, as they do not allow me to send another one within 4 hours of the previous. So with that said, you need to follow at Skywob Alerts on Twitter if you enjoy this type of content and need a fail-safe, a backup in the event you want to be notified. Because most of these chases, if you're new, they only last a couple of minutes sometimes. And by the you find out there is one, it's over. So you need to turn your notifications on here as well as Skywob Alerts. Chases breed chases, my friends. It is a Saturday night, the beginning of November here in Los Angeles. People are out on the streets. Choppers are in the air. We got birds in the air. Maybe we'll get another one. Chases breed chases.